Welcome to Resilience and Resolve with Lance Drury.
Welcome back to Resilience and Resolve with Lance Drury, the show that helps individuals and small business owners fight back when the IRS comes calling. Now, Lance Drury is a seasoned tax attorney who's been defending clients for over 20 years with one goal in mind: protecting what matters most. I'm your host, Evan Mack, and today we're clearing up a common confusion. What's the difference between a lien and a levy? This is IRS liens and levies. What's the difference and why it matters? Lance Drury, sir, welcome back.
Great to see you, Evan. I'm always happy to be here. And I got great
Awesome.
news for you.
Talk to me.
I'm going to San Antonio Sunday. I'm meeting my two lawyers from Los Angeles, and they are going to take over that office effective the first of the year. So we will have a physical presence in San Antonio now every day of the week.
That's breaking news. Me starting off with breaking news.
There you go.
But let's get down to it though. You know, for the people that don't know, what's the main difference between the IRS lien and an IRS levy?
Well, a lien is where it's filed with the recorder of deeds. It's a notice of federal tax lien. It's filed with the recorder of deeds in the county in which you live, or it's supposed to be. Sometimes they mess up and put it in another county. It's only good for that particular county. And it's there so that if you ever sell your real estate, that lien has to be satisfied at the time of sale. It is not an actual seizure of assets or property. However, a levy is a seizure of income or assets. And so the two most likely are a bank levy. It's good the day that it hits the bank for whatever amount it is in there. You have 21 days. They have to hold on to those monies for the IRS for 21 days. That gives you a chance to try to get the levy lifted on your bank account before it's sent into the IRS, or it's a garnishment of your wages. And so the bank levy is only good for the day that it hits. It's a one-time levy, although the IRS can file successive bank levies. But the wage levy, that is continuous until you get it lifted, and it can be for as much as 90% of your take-home pay. So that is really tragic when that happens to people, because how are they going to pay the bills?
Yeah.
So that's why you can't ignore those notices. The IRS has to give you prior notice of the impending levy. You have a chance to ask for a collection due process hearing or an equivalency hearing before they actually levy you. And those safeguards, those procedural safeguards, were put into place in 1998 between Bill Clinton and the Republican Congress. Prior to that time, it was like the Wild West. They could just go out and levy, no prior notice. So now there are safeguards in place, and that created the industry that I'm in, because once that happened, then they needed practitioners to help taxpayers navigate the IRS maze.
So when do they actually, issue a lien? When does it mean for someone's property or credit when they actually do that?
Well, there's no rhyme or reason to when they will file a lien. But we do know this: if there is no lien in place by the time that you get an agreement with the IRS, or you're placed into currently non-collectible status, the IRS at that time will file a lien. But the lien doesn't last forever. The lien is supposed to be released 6 to 9 months before the expiration of the collection statute date. Now, the problem recently is, within the last couple of years, is that the IRS doesn't have enough personnel. They're making more mistakes than they have in the past. So now they're not releasing the liens always when they're supposed to. These mortgage companies, these title companies are requiring that you secure a formal release of lien, even though they're supposed to be self-releasing, but they don't pay any attention to that. So people have to hire us then to get a formal release of lien, file the proper legal paperwork, and get those liens released so they can proceed with the sale of their property, of their home.
What about a levy though, Lance? How was that? Is it more aggressive or more immediate?
Yes, it is. It's a seizure of your income or your assets. So like I said earlier, bank accounts, wages, and if you draw Social Security, they can levy 15% of your Social Security. But everybody's Social Security check is directly debited into their bank account. And guess what happens when it goes into the bank account? Now they can take 100% of that Social Security check. So the 15% comes before they ever issue the check, but they can take it all once it's deposited into a bank account. But those are the three most common levies because they're the easiest to do. And so those are the three that the IRS generally employs. And so here's the deal. You can get the levy lifted, but you have to prove that it's going to prove to be a financial hardship for you, which means you're not going to be able to pay your bills.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's pretty easy to do, but you may not get the levy lifted completely. You may get a partial release of levy, or what normally happens is you set up an agreement with the IRS. Once the agreement is set up, the levy's automatically lifted.
Can someone have a lien on their record without knowing it? And if so, how would they find out?
Well, you would have to go to the Recorder of Deeds office in the county in which you live because those are a matter of public record. So you're entitled, and anybody can see that. So there's a bunch of companies, they go around, they make lien lists for the IRS, and then they sell them to practitioners like myself so that we can go out and contact those people to see if they need legal representation before the IRS. We used to do that. We don't really do that anymore. We have different avenues of marketing at the moment. But that is something that a lot of practitioners do, is that they buy up those lien lists and then they contact the taxpayer that has the lien to see if they need assistance with dealing with the IRS.
Can you tell the people at home what kind of assets the IRS can levy there, Lance?
Well, theoretically, the IRS, the lien operates as a lien against any asset that you have at the time that the lien is filed, or any asset you acquire thereafter. But as a practical matter, the IRS is not going to go out and seize your cars. They're just not going to go through all that trouble. They will go after your home, but you really got to have a lot of liability and you have to blow them up. They only do about 70 or 80 of those a year the last time I checked. So it's uncommon to do that. But that's generally if your home is the only asset that you have that they can seize in satisfaction of your tax debt to them. So yeah, the IRS, but like I said earlier, the IRS has to go through a sequence of letters before they can levy you. And I have to tell you, normally, and this is all psychological, but people think the IRS is going to come after them harder during tax season.
Yeah.
So generally, January through May are our biggest months. Well, guess what? June was our biggest revenue month ever because the IRS is either threatening to levy people now or they are actually levying people now. And that's when people sit up, take notice, pick up the phone and call us, is when they get those nasty grams from the IRS.
Wow. But so what about warning though? You talked about like letters and things like that, but how much warning does the IRS legally have to give you before they can levy your property?
Well, there's no rhyme or reason to when those letters are sent. You may get those letters back to back in 30 days, or you may not get the next letter for a year.
Wow.
But they have to send those letters to you. And it's the CP 504 is the predecessor to the final notice of intent to levy, which is generally an LT 11 letter or a CP 90 letter or a notice from a revenue officer if there is a revenue officer on your case. And in each instance, you have 30 days from the date on the notice to stop the levy, file the proper legal paperwork, and get the levy stopped and have an appeals hearing, which gives you an opportunity to set up an agreement with the IRS, and then the levy is never filed against you.
What steps can a person take to remove that lien or at least maybe lessen its impact though, Lance?
Well, you're not going to get the lien released unless you pay off the debt or the collection statute expires. Now, there are instances where you can talk the IRS out of issuing that lien if your tax liability is under $50,000. We have done that in the past. However, the IRS has the right to file a lien against any delinquent taxpayer if that tax liability is greater than $10,000. But you're going to see it if you got a six-figure tax liability.
Right.
There's no way I nor anybody else can stop the filing of the lien because they want to protect their interest. Because what happens is if they don't perfect that lien by filing with the recorder of deeds and some other creditor comes in and does that filing, they perfect their interest, they're going to take priority over the IRS.
But Lance, what if they have already been hit with the levy, though? Is it too late to negotiate? Is it too late to fight back?
Oh, no. Once you get the levy, you've got 21 days from a bank levy before those monies are sent in. So what happens is you have your client fill out financial statements as quickly as possible, and then you call the IRS or the revenue officer, give them the financial information they need. They may want bank statements or something else. And if you can accomplish all that within that 21-day window and get an agreement set up, then they're going to not pursue the levy. They're going to release that levy.
What's your advice, though, if somebody's getting hit with these kind of things, Lance? They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. What can they do?
They can call us. We do this every day. We have more than 1,000 clients at any one time. It's my goal that we get to 3,000 clients in this office because, Evan, like I've told you before, I'm in the prime of my life. I got to keep growing the office, but we have a moral obligation to help as many people as possible. That's what we're here for. That's why I'm still working at almost 72 years of age, and that's why I hope to be here in 10 more years. And we're going to continue to try to help people and small businesses with their tax problems with the IRS.
My man, Lance, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. 10 more years, baby.
10 more years.
Thank you all for tuning in to Resilience and Resolve. If you're facing collection notices or don't know what the IRS has filed against you, don't guess, get answers. Visit lancedrurylaw.com to schedule a confidential consultation and take the first step towards protecting your assets. And if this episode helped you, please like, subscribe, leave a review, and share if with somebody else that might find this information helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.